Welcome to Module 1. We are in Topic 1, Importance of Sustainability, and Lesson 2, Current World Problems. The main aim of this lesson is to understand the complexity of sustainability, focusing on three aspects: the main world problems or wicked problems and their relationships, the main environmental problems, and the impact of agri-food industry on environmental problems. Here, we can see the web of world problems by Fritjof Capra, in which is evident that the problems that we are facing today are not isolated and cannot be tackled in an independent manner, but they are interlinked and related, so a systemic thinking, a holistic approach is needed if we want to get to a solution. At present, the planet faces different challenges related to the environment, among which we can highlight as the main environmental problems the use and generation of energy, the proliferation of waste, the quality and quantity of water, the loss of biodiversity, global warming, the overexploitation of natural resources, and the exponential growth of the human species. There are two types of energy sources: renewable and non-renewable. Fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, together with nuclear energy, constitute non-renewable energy sources. Their advantage is their high quality, that is, they have a higher energy density and are more efficient, but nevertheless they are limited. Coal reserves worldwide are estimated for 150 years, oil for 42 years, and natural gas for 63 years. They are dirty, cause significant environmental impacts, are generally very localized, with the largest reservoirs of all of them outside of Europe. On the other hand, there are 6 types of renewable energy sources: biomass energy, hydraulic energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, tidal energy, and solar energy. They present the advantages that they are inexhaustible, clean, indigenous, and contribute to sustainable development, but their generation is not regular. Sometimes energy is difficult to accumulate, and they also present technical or economical problems. Waste is defined as the solid, liquid, or gaseous waste product generated in production and consumption activities which no longer have economic value due to the lack of adequate technology that allows its use or due to the non-existence of a market for possible products to recover. We can distinguish different types of waste, like domestic, commercial, sanitary, construction, or industrial. The solution to this problem involves the rule of the 3 R's, in this order: reduce consumption, and thus the generation of waste; reuse what is possible; and finally, recycle what can no longer be used. For this, we find different types of containers. One could highlight the scarcity of water and the degradation of its quality among the global ecological problems. We must take into account that only 3% of all the water on the planet corresponds to fresh water, while 97% of water is in the oceans. Of the fresh water, 69% is the form of ice, 30% is groundwater, and only 1% is found in lakes and rivers, which is what we can really use for consumption. The current problem with respect to water has 2 aspects: quantity and quality. The increase in population determines an increase in the need for water and brings us closer to the depletion of this resource. When the annual figure of renewable of water resources is less than 1,000 meters per person, it's considered that the availability of water is an important limitation to socio-economic development and a protection of the environment. The quality of water is affected by the industrial contamination of the fluvial channels and the contamination of the aquifers by the abusive use of fertilizers and pesticides in agricultural activities. Biological diversity or biodiversity refers to the variety of living organisms. The term biodiversity is commonly applied to describe the number, variety, and variability of living organisms, including diversity within species, between species, and within ecosystems. The extinction of a species is part of the natural course of Earth's history. However, human activity has accelerated the rate of extinction at least 100 times some say up to 10,000 times the natural rate. About 50,000 species per year go extinct. This means 5% of the total species per decade at the moment. If these numbers are maintained, by the end of the 21st century, 2/3 of the species of the Earth will have disappeared. The main causes are changing land use, climate change, invasive species, overexploitation, pollution, economic activity, and population growth. It is a mistake to believe that biodiversity can be contained in captivity, ignoring its role in the maintenance of ecosystems. What is essential is the conservation of entire ecosystems, ensuring their functionality and also the legal protection of individual species. There are some consequences also related to biodiversity loss, like the appearance of new pests. Since the loss of habitats makes several animals disappear, which will affect trophic networks, a rising temperature, because the loss of plants increases the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, the decrease of water, since the soils of the forest allow the water to filter to the aquifers and the plants release it in the form of steam, etc. Overexploitation occurs when organisms are removed or ecosystems are exploited at a rate greater than the natural regeneration. The greatest impact of overexploitation is the biodiversity loss and the extinction of resources. There are different types of overexploitation: extraction of wood, hunting, fishing, and trade in protected species, excess consumption of degradation of water as a natural resource, or mineral depletion. Some examples of species in danger of extinction due to overexploitation are the Asian elephant, the bluefin tuna, or the mountain gorilla, for example. Global warming is an increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere and ocean surface over time. This has always changed. The problem with climate change is that in recent times, the rate of this variation has accelerated in a strange way, and to such an extent that it affects planetary life. The main greenhouse gases, which are the ones causing global warming, are carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, methane, nitrogen oxides, or water vapor. Since the 1970s, the global temperature has not stopped increasing, and every year it increased a little more. This increase in temperature is directly related to the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. The main consequences of climate change are the increase in the average temperature of the planet, the rise in sea level and its temperature, the increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, changes in ecosystems, extinction of numerous plant species on death, drought, etc., etc. Now I'm going to name some environmental problems directly related to the agri-food industry, starting with palm oil. Because of its organoleptic properties, it has many uses. However, its exploitation has led to the deforestation of the forest in the Borneo Island, as we can see in the diagram, where the difference between 1950s and 2020s is evident. The use of pesticides and fertilizers is also an issue. It is true that it increases crop yields and reduces the damage caused by insect and crop diseases, but it leads to contamination from overuse, is absorbed by the crops and then washed away, negative effects on human health, groundwater infiltration from leftovers, algal blooms, aquatic animals die, etc., etc. Another issue is the consumption of endangered species, as the hammer shark. Since 2014, 5 shark species and all manta ray species have been protected for international trade, and permits and certificates are required for sustainable fishing. But examples such as shark fin soup in Asia or fish and chips with shark meat in Europe are still present. Intensive agriculture and farming also lead to increased toxins, theoretical soil contamination, biodiversity loss, or pesticide-resistant insects and plants. The use of antibiotics and hormones in farming also is an issue, and it leads to super-resistant microbes and heavy spending as well. The environmental impact of food packaging will be the last issue. It depends on the material and the amount, being cardboard the least harmful. It will only take 1 year to break down paper and cardboard, while it will take 150 years for plastic and 4,000 years for glass. There's also a recent tendency for overpacking, with many products being individually packaged. Thus, plastic and microplastics are everywhere. To sum up, we have seen that achieving sustainability is a complex but solvable problem. Global problems are interrelated from the environmental, economic, and social perspective. Current environmental problems nowadays in energy, water, resource depletion, biodiversity loss, and climate change, for example, and that the agri-food industry has a clear impact on the environment. So, sustainable agricultural practices and adoption of advanced technologies are key to addressing the global challenges.